Welcome, everyone. I'm Olaf Hajnosz from Jagiellonian University. I'm glad to be here with you today. I will talk about perspective of the US policy in Arctic region. At the beginning, I would like to discuss why the US should engage in the Arctic region. Well, the two main reasons are the new trade routes and natural resources. As we can see on the map, two routes run through the Arctic. The Northeast Passage behind Russia and Northwest Passage behind US and Canada. As for now, these trails are inaccessible due to the ice cover, but with progressive global warming, they will become new Silk Roads for sea transport. When it comes to the natural resources, the Arctic is full of gas, oil, rare metals, and many others. As for now, there is no access to them, but in the perspective of a time, it will probably change. The US isn't alone in that part of the world. Two main challenges that the US is facing are Russia and China. For the past few decades, Russia has been coming back to the Arctic by investing in infrastructure, both military and civilian, expanding Arctic military forces and its research sphere. What is worth noticing is the Russia experience in Arctic industry and sizable fleet of nuclear icebreakers. On the photo on the left side, we can see the Russian nuclear icebreaker. On the other hand, Chinese actions in the Arctic region have the character of scientific and civil investment. China does not only invest in Russia and its close allies, but almost in any other Arctic country as well. Many of these countries, for instance, Denmark, Finland, and Norway, are standing before the old ties with the US and new investment from the PRC. On the right, we can see the new Russian base on the land of Francis Joseph. Okay, how important is Arctic policy for the US? We can find out by reading National Defense Authorization Act for Fiscal Year 2021, in which Arctic is mentioned together with Kaliningrad and Crimea. Quote, an assessment of the force structure and capabilities of Russian military forces stationed in each of the Arctic, Kaliningrad and Crimea, including a description of any changes to such force structure or capabilities during the one-year period ending on the date of such report, with a particular emphasis on the anti-access and area denial capabilities. Not only was it mentioned on a par with the most ardent regions, but also the focus was on the last year. That is a change in the White House, traditionally a period of increased military movement of the rivals of democracies. What further attracts attention is, I start quote, report setting for an assessment of the feasibility and advisability of using unnamed aircraft system for surveillance and marine protected areas, the transit zone and the Arctic. Due to the extreme condition in the polar climate, apart from specially trained troops, research on the use of unnamed aerial vehicle is conducted, while drones have no problems with hypothermia. The report under discussion contains provision on new advisory bodies in the Arctic. These are Ted Stevens Center for Arctic Security and Arctic Shipping Federal Advisory Committee. First of them is named after a long-standing senator from Alaska, will support defense strategy, objectives, and policy priority through an academic forum and develop international network of security leaders. Interestingly, the initiator of this initiative is Dan Sullivan, a Republican senator from Alaska, which indicates that there are cross-party agreements so important in the divided political scene. On the other side, the Arctic Shipping Federal Advisory Committee is established to provide policy recommendation to the Secretary of Transportation on positioning the United States to the advantage of emerging opportunities for Arctic maritime transportation. On the left, as we can see, the Senator Dan Sullivan, and on the right, it is Ted Stevens. Ted Stevens died over 10 years ago in a tragic aircraft accident. So it's some kind of remembrance that this new center is of his name. He also was a senator from Alaska. What is worth noticing is the engagement of the Congress in deepening relationships with the Alaskan Native tribes under the Biden presidency. For instance, the will to involve the 3 representatives from Alaska Natives to the Arctic Shipping Federal Advisory Committee. Quotes like tribal consultation in implementing any of the recommendation provided under subsection C3C, the Secretary of Transportation shall consult with Alaska Native tribes, and other quote, in developing the advice and recommendation under subparagraph C, engage with the solid feedback from coastal communities, Alaska Native substance co-management groups, and Alaska Native tribes. These quotes are from the paragraph establishing the Arctic Shipping Federal Advisory Committee. And in the photo, we can see former President Barack Obama, the former President Barack Obama showed great understanding for local societies. Now I would like to speak a little bit about same document, but with the on the term of office of Donald Trump. Well, from the exact document, but 1 year ago, 2020, we won't find anything about increasing cooperation with local indigenous people. The only part in the Arctic chapter about natives is testing them for Chinese influence and investment. To be exact, the vulnerability of semi-autonomous regions, such as tribal lands, to Chinese foreign direct investments, including the influence of legal controls and political economic manipulation with respect to such vulnerability. Much of that document was devoted to the issue of mass casualty disaster and the need to build new Arctic port capable of accommodating destroyers of Arleigh class. That's the most common destroyer in the US Navy. We can see it on the photo. And the need of the more ports, more Arctic, new Arctic ports was also included in the Act from 2021. In contrast, the paragraph about mass casualty disaster, which doesn't exist in the next documents. About these cases, we can read a lot about Chinese influence, Chinese influences, and even more about Chinese and here and there about Russian influences. I'm going to end the presentation. Well, in conclusion, I would like to support the opinion of Professor David Osberald from U.S. National War College. The professor postulates, first of all, introducing new unified strategy for the Arctic, which should include deter military attacks against US or allied territory originating from the Arctic, prevent China or Russia from weakening existing rules-based Arctic governance through coercion, and prevent regional hegemony by either China or Russia. The US has to work quickly. The last US strategy, US Arctic strategy, was written in the 2014, before the country refocused on geopolitical competition with Russia and China. And here there is a quote of Admiral James Fogo. former commandant of Allied Joint Forces in Italy, in order to deter, you have to be present. You've got to be there, and you've got to be there quickly. Well, in 2018, China published its first Arctic strategy. There is no time to lose. Thank you.